Hey everyone, I am Jared Avilés, and I'm going to be doing a Tai Chi yoga blend for you today. Something that I like to do in my practice is take some of the ancient wisdoms that I read, and I like to apply that to my movement practice. It helps me to deepen my awareness of the teachings that I learn, and it helps me to express those teachings as I move. And so that's what we'll be doing today. We'll be doing a light yin style yoga with a few small Tai Chi movements in there, very beginner friendly. And during the course of that, we'll take a few poses to relax and do a little self-reflection and self-cultivation. And I'll walk you through a few exercises while we're doing our yoga style poses. And so I like to start off with a reading from some of the texts that I enjoy. One in particular today is from what is called the Dao De Jing. You may or may not be familiar with that. You don't have to be. But I'd like to read you a short verse out of that today, specifically verse 2, so that way you understand the context in which some of the self-reflection exercises will be guided from. And so in verse 2, it speaks much about duality and much about mutual arising. Opposites are contained within each other. And this is by Stephen Stinnett. This is his translation. When everyone in the world sees beauty, ugliness exists. When everyone sees good, then bad exists. Therefore, what is and what is not create each other. Difficult and easy complement each other. Tall and short shape each other. High and low rest on each other. Voice and tone blend with each other. First and last follow each other. So the sage acts by doing nothing, teaches without speaking, attends all things without making claim to them, works for them without making them dependent, demands no honor for his deed. Because he demands no honor, he will never be dishonored. And so there's a lot packed into that we could go over, but today specifically what I'd like to focus on is the duality and how we can focus on knowing that opposites are not necessarily good and bad, but good and bad are one in another. Active and non-active are born out of each other. Dark and light, they exist because of each other. Without the darkness, we couldn't have the sunrise. And so we're going to take that theme out of that verse today, and we're going to apply it through this practice. And so I'd like you to get comfortable on your feet, or on your knees, in some kind of a seated position or kneeling position. And as always in my practices, I take a few moments to take a few deep breaths and just relax my body, calm that nervous system down. I like to breathe in through the nose, out through the mouth to start, and then eventually just through my nose. So we'll take a couple of moments to do that now. Big breath in and out. And in and out. Speaking directly from that verse, we probably couldn't have that relaxing out breath without that active in breath. They exist in each other. You may notice an animal, my dog Sam, walking in the background. Don't mind her. She's as much as a part of this practice as anything else. A couple more breaths now. And just try to bring yourself to this moment, arrive here. Be grateful that you have the ability to be here. And don't worry about doing anything other than what you're doing right now. One more breath, and then we're going to come to a standing position, however you'd like to get there. I'd like you to put your feet together. Let your palms hang low by your waist. And we're going to do a slow, basic Tai Chi movement, or Qigong movement. We bring our hands up, palms up, and then we're going to roll them over and let them float down. And as we do that on our first one, we'll take a short side step out, about shoulder width apart. And this is just more of a moving meditation movement. Again, relaxing the body, getting ready for our practice. And in Tai Chi, they teach us to move effortlessly. Again, it's a moving meditation. It is a form of martial art, but it helps to calm the mind, move the energy freely through the body. And so try not to move fast, and try not to move with tight muscles, but keep the muscles relaxed as you're letting your arms come up and float down. And referencing that ancient wisdom we just spoke about in verse 2, the high follows the low. As we come down, the only other place to go is up. And we just have to be aware of that physically and mentally within ourselves. One more full movement, one more full cycle, and then we're going to do a side stretch on each side of the body to deepen our breath. We're going to take our left arm up. Right arm goes down to the side, and we're going to just go straight over. Nice deep stretch, but not too deep. Take a deep inhale and fill that lung up. And as you exhale, allow yourself to come back over. And then on the inhale, stretch again. Exhale, float over to the side. And I like to think of my arm as a piece of kelp in the ocean. If you study any Dao De Jing philosophy, you'll learn that they speak much about nature and elements, and water is one of the significant analogies to the wisdoms in that book. On your last movement, I want you to go over a little deeper this time and hold. And we're going to take 3 deep breaths here. I allow my body to come up just a little bit as I inhale and deepen as I exhale. And on our last one, we're going to take the arm and exhale and let it float down like a feather. Soft, easy, not in a hurry to arrive at the bottom. And as we reach the bottom, we take our other arm over and up to perform the same movement on the other side. Keep ourselves in balance. So deep breath. And try to move with your breath. I find it very important in my practices to stay connected with my breath. And let's hold the next one for 3 good breaths, 3 deep breaths. And then we'll take the arm over on our last one. Big breath and exhale, and we float the arm down like a feather. Don't worry about what it looks like. Just get in touch with your body now. Next, we're going to take both arms straight to the sky, straight up above us. We're going to turn the palms up, and we'll look up as if we're holding up the sky. Deep breath in, fill up your lungs, fill up your belly. Arms turn and float down. Palms up. We'll do that one more time, and then we'll work our way into a forward fold next. Up, palms to the sky, Deep breaths. One deep breath, hold, and release. And on your way down, take a gentle bend at the hips. Keep the arms wide. And then allow them to come to the ground as you forward fold. And I want you just to stay here for a moment. Couple deep breaths. If you'd like to bring your hands to your shins as you inhale, and then exhale, that's totally fine. Or you can stay forward folded. We're going to stay in this position a little while. So if at any moment you need to come out and lift your head up, that is totally fine. This helps us to get our body prepared for a deeper stretch inside of this position. And as you feel comfortable, I want you to heel-toe your feet together. And what I like to do is take one last inhale, and on my exhale, deepen my stretch into ragdoll. And we're going to hold here for just a few breaths. And I want you to focus on that tension in the backside of the body, in your hamstrings, in your lower back, even your spine. Try not to resist it. Try not to stretch so far that it's becoming a challenge, but just allow yourself to rest within the stretch, and your body will slowly accept that, and you will start to feel that tension release. Continue with your breathing. Remember, you're here, and this is the only place you need to be right now. Continue to bring your mind back to your breath and back to your body when it drifts. And while you're in this position, I'm going to walk you through one of the exercises I mentioned that relate back to the duality of verse 2. I want you to think about a moment, a simple moment. Let's not get too deep in emotional thought, but let's think about a simple moment where we were frustrated, or where something weighed us down, brought us down while we're in this forward fold. Could be as simple as being 5 minutes late to a meeting, spilling coffee on your shirt, just something simple. Can you identify those emotions you felt, and perhaps they're still residing in the body? What were they? Frustration? Anger? Maybe loneliness? Maybe guilt? Don't hold those emotions too tightly. Just let them be there. And again, continue to deepen your stretch and connect with your breath as you think about those emotions in that moment. Next, I'd like you to think about, or see if you can discover any good emotions, because we've been thinking about the negative. Were there any good? If you need to come out of your pose for just a short moment, you can. And back into it if you need to. Again, move at your own pace physically and mentally. Are you relieved that situation's over? Is there some relief? Grateful it could have been worse, that it wasn't worse. And so the lesson is, there might be things that pull us down and weigh us down. And in that moment, we might not see the good.
But if we take a few deep breaths and find the good, there's probably some good emotional energy in that moment as well. And sometimes great emotions are birthed out of those challenging ones. All right, let's bring our hands to our shins, come up out of our pose. And hold for just a moment. And then let's bring our arms up and slowly rise. You can bend your head. Bring your arms up over the body. I'm going to stretch to one side, both arms facing each other, both palms facing each other. And like a piece of kelp, over to the other side. And let the arms float down. We're going to interlace them behind our backs and do a quick shoulder and chest stretch. And grab your hands, interlace the fingers, extend them back, roll the shoulders back so you can squeeze the shoulder blades. I like to take my chin up just a little bit. And a couple of deep breaths here. Remembering that good emotions do arise out of bad ones. We just have to remember what story we're telling ourselves sometimes when we have a challenging situation. Next, I'd like us to turn to the front of our mat. Do a light forward fold, hands go down. And you can step, walk, or jump your feet back into a plank position. If plank is too hard, bring it to your knees. That's totally fine. We're not going to be here long. And what I want you to do next is lift your right foot up and bring it to the outside of your right hand slowly. We're going to get in that runner lunge position. You may notice me on my knuckles, and that is because I've got some wrist injuries right now. And so move your body the way you can and the way that feels best for you. And always pay attention. If something hurts, don't do it. Next, we're going to take a couple breaths and work through this runner's lunge. We're going to breathe in and bring our hips up. So breathe in, bring the hips up, extend the legs back. Hold. Breathe out. We're going to bring it back to that runner's lunge, down through the runner's lunge, knee to the ground, chest and head go up. And we're going to do one more of those. So breathe in, hips go up, legs go back. And out. You can stay here, or you can deepen the pose just a little bit by untucking the toes, laying the foot flat, taking the hand to the knee, and doing a light twist, and the hips can come forward and down, just like so. And we're going to just hold here for a few breaths. Working on stretching the inner thigh, the front quad of the left leg and hip flexor, a little bit in our groin. And as I breathe, I like to think about my breath going directly to the point in my body that is being stretched. I'm breathing in relaxation, I'm breathing out tension. And I like to think of this pose as a mountain stream. My right knee is the mountain. It's strong, it's stable. And as you follow the knee down to the left leg is like a stream. It's flowing down in the valley. And again, with verse 2, we have highs and we have lows. And those things and those opposites balance each other out. We have black, we have white, but it's all mutually arising together. And for me, that really
Speaks to how everything is interconnected in this world. A couple more deep breaths. And then we're going to switch sides. So slowly come out of your pose. Be gentle with it. Bring it back into your plank. Tuck the tailbone. Roll the shoulders. Have a strong core. And we want to lift our left leg. Squeeze the left butt. And slowly and controlled bring it to our left hand to the outside. Just like so. And get in position. All right, we're going to breathe in and bring the hips up and back. And breathe out, forward, knee to the ground, chest and chin up just a little bit. And one more. Breathe in. And out. And however you chose to take your pose on the other side, I'd like you to do the same on this one. And we're going to stay here for a few breaths and really try to focus on where the stretch is in the body. And when you practice some yin yoga styles, you can actually use your breath. The inhalation of your thoracic cage can actually help deepen the stretch. You might try that throughout this practice. You don't have to move deeper. You can just breathe deeper and find more of a stretch. Again, if anything does not feel comfortable, come out of the pose and readjust. Always modify to what feels right for you at that moment. And remember, every day is different, so don't hold yourself to the same exact standard. Perhaps you could do this yesterday, and today your body's telling you no, and that's okay. Learn to accept what the day is giving you. Couple more deep breaths. Next, I'd like you to slowly come out of your pose. Come back into plank. Good strong plank. And then what we're going to do next is bring our knees to the ground. I'm going to spread the feet and knees about hip width apart. We're going to take a child's pose. So the hands go forward. I like to take my hips back all the way to my feet. You can keep the hips high like so. However feels comfortable to you. Again, it's your practice. And we're going to stay here for a few deep breaths. And we're going to work on another exercise with our mind. So I'd like you to take a moment. Either think about the same situation or another one. Ideally where you probably had a disagreement with someone, or perhaps you just didn't get along with someone. Something simple. Could have been your order was wrong somewhere and you were in a disagreement about what was ordered.
Perhaps you and your friend couldn't agree on a place to eat. Something simple with not a lot of emotional charge. And again, you probably feel some strong feelings, and that's good. Because in those strong feelings, we've learned that there's also softer and more positive feelings. But this time, think about your side of the story and your thoughts about it. And I'd like you to take a moment to stand outside of yourself. And what I like to do is imagine that I'm floating up above myself and looking down on the situation from a bird's eye view. And I see two people or multiple people, and they're like ants on the ground. And I have no attachment to anybody, any opinion. And then as I'm a bird, I swoop back down, but this time instead of going back into my own body, my own thoughts, my own story, I go into the other person, the other ant. And I observe them and what they're saying. Much like when you observe somebody through a glass window and you're just observing behavior and studying. Can you see what they're saying without the emotional attachments to your story? Can you lay down your ego like we're laying down here now to allow yourself to see another side of the situation? That doesn't mean you have to agree with it. It just means you're able to see it and accept that there are multiple perspectives arising at once from the same situation. A couple more deep breaths. And zoom back out of that situation and back into your body. Feel where the stretch is. Feel that emotional charge dissipate. And I believe emotions are energy in motion inside of our body. And if that energy is stored, it blocks our flow of chi, our flow of energy. It just blocks us up. And I think practices such as these help us to release that emotion. Next, I'd like us to slowly bring our hands to our knees and sit up. Walk our knees in. I'm going to get this spider off of my mat. Apologize. And I'd like us to take a light counter stretch. When we place the hands behind us, I'm going to be on my fingertips for my wrists. Bring the hips up. Contract the shoulder blades back. Chin can go up. Then let's work on a slow counter stretch in the front side of the body, as we had that area compressed quite a bit. And what I like to do is bring the hips down slow and move through this motion just a few times. Moving with the breath. And one more. Next, I'd like you to bring your feet out in front of us, however you'd like to get there. And we're going to stretch for our toes, open up our hamstrings a little more. And again, I'm going to be that piece of kelp moving in and out of this stretch to start. And we won't be here long. But I'd like you to keep your spine erect, shoulders rolled back, and use what range of motion you have while keeping a straight spine to reach for your toes. Breathe in and out. And in this one I'm going to hold for just a few breaths. Next, I'd like you to slowly release. Come up. And let's bring our feet together for butterfly pose. Let's roll our shoulders back. Keep the spine straight. And again, it's getting into the pose with good spine posture. So try not to hunch over and bring the legs up like that. It's not about trying to get deep. It's about using your range of motion and getting the best benefit out of it for your body. So your pose may look like this. Your feet may look a little more forward out in front of you. Whatever feels right for your body. Let's work our way into butterfly. And if you want to do a few cycles of breath movement to enter that pose, that's totally fine. And you can put your elbows on your legs, on your calves, and press down and get a little deeper stretch if you'd like. Again, it's not about getting the deepest stretch. It's about relaxing into the stretch by using your breath. We'll stay here for a few moments, concentrating on our breath, connecting with our body, directing our breath into the area where we feel the stretch. And as your mind drifts, just bring it back. That's what our minds are good at. Our minds are good at thinking. And there's a time for us to be active in thinking, and there's a time to allow ourselves to relax. Action, non-action. And so in this pose, I'd like us to work on acceptance. In the other two poses, we learned that there may be a situation that causes negative emotions, but within that situation, we can birth good emotions. There might be situations where there are mutual or multiple perspectives arising, and we can step outside of our ego and see the other sides of the story, of the moment. We can release the emotions and release the attachment to our story. And we can accept that the other perspectives and the negative emotions aren't wrong, aren't bad necessarily, that they're just different. And perhaps out of those emotions and perspectives, our good emotions and our new perspective can arise. And I think Muhammad Ali once said, "Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee." And I've thought about that a few times. If you watch a butterfly, they really do float effortlessly. Without trying. They float on the winds of life. Their wings at the apex, the height of its flap, has only one place to go, and that's down. And then back up. And life is like that, I think. Where we have ups and we have downs. But it's keeping ourselves aligned that allow us to bring ourselves up from those down moments and allow us to float on the winds of life more effortlessly and without resistance. And so if we can release emotions, the negative ones, and see the good within them, and if we can release our attachments to our story and see other perspectives, I believe we can learn to accept the winds
that life brings, and we can float most of the time. And when we really need to take action, we'll have that energy and awareness to take action and sting like a bee. But most of the time, we're floating like butterflies. Now let's take some more deep breaths to calm our mind. Focus again on the body and where that stretch is. Next, I'd like you to plant your hands in front of you on the ground, forearms on the ground. Slowly rise up out of this position. Be gentle with it. I'd like to have you take your feet out in front of you. We're just going to windshield wiper them to the left and right. Open things back up. Knees go to the left. And keep your chest up and forward. And then over to the right. You might feel a little bit of a stretch and some tension releasing in the outer thighs and the hip joints. We had a lot of compression going on in there just a minute ago. And let's bring our feet around to the front of us. I'm going to turn and face you guys. I'd like you to close your eyes and take a few moments to allow yourself to be aware of the new relaxed state that your body is in. And give yourself appreciation for coming and doing this practice and being here now. And working through not only the movements, but the mental movements as well. And as you continue to keep your eyes closed or open, whichever works for you, I'm going to finish by reading verse 2 one more time of the Dao De Jing to see if anything sounds different to you. When everyone in the world sees beauty, ugly exists. When everyone sees good, bad exists. What is and what is not create each other. Difficult and easy complement each other. Tall and short shape each other. High and low rest on each other. Voice and tone blend each other. First and last follow each other. The sage acts by doing nothing, teaches without speaking, attends things without making claim to them, works for them without making them dependent, demands no honor for his deed. Because he demands no honor, he will never be dishonored. And I feel as though the end of that verse tells us when the work is done to let it be and not be wrapped up in the attachments of the fruits of the labor. And so you did your practice today. You did it well. You were here and you did it to your best ability. And now it's done. So let's take that acceptance and move throughout our days effortlessly. Hi, Sam. Appreciate you joining me. Have a great day.